Y'all, we're making Pop Tarts. Come on. Welcome to Highfalutin Low Carb, the almost weekly web series where we find and test the best low carb recipes this crazy internet has to offer. Today, we're tackling low carb Pop Tarts. Stay tuned. All right, guys, low carb Pop Tarts. Is it even possible? Do you even know what a Pop Tart is? Here in the US, they're very common as a childhood favorite snack, I guess you could say, or breakfast pastry. It's usually some sort of breading on the outside, maybe with an icing drizzle, a glaze. Inside is fruit-based or some sort of sweet filling. You can throw them in a toaster. They're pre-made. They, for better or worse, are pretty popular. There's a reason I'm actually doing a Pop Tart battle today, and that is because if you've been following my social media for the last few months or this channel, you know that I just participated in AIDS Life Cycle. Through your help, I raised over $11,000 along with other cyclists, totaling $11 million. And on June 2nd through June 9th, we traveled as a group, cycled 545 miles from San Francisco to Los Angeles down the California coast to raise money to help fight AIDS. Now, in a group sporting event like that, I guess you could say, where you've got thousands of people traveling, we camped every night together, they were feeding us, you sort of have to let some of your dietary preferences go by the side, and keto and low carb is sort of a preference for me, so I didn't push that in getting any special meals. I just decided that I would eat what was available. Now, when you're basically living, cycling, living on your bicycle for 6 to 8 hours a day, burning 5,000, 6,000 extra calories a day, there's a need to obviously refuel. And for most cyclists, that is going to be a sweet, simple carb, unfortunately. So along the route, every 20, 30, 40 miles are breaks where you can refuel your body and your water and all of that and take a rest. And one of the common snacks was Pop Tarts. And I'm telling you now that over that 7 days, I probably ate more Pop Tarts than I have in my entire 49 years preceding that. So for better or worse, I came back with a little bit of a hankering for Pop Tarts. So we're going to test two different recipes today. I wanted to do one with a fruit filling and one with something else kind of sweet. Our first recipe is called Keto Pop Tarts, and this is by the website lowcarbspark.com. I believe we've tried some of their recipes before, and that's the fruit-based with a raspberry filling. And our second recipe comes to us from a creator I don't believe we've tried before, is the website inspectorgorgeous.com. I love that name. And this is their peanut butter cup Pop Tarts. So we're going to get started on trying both of these and see what we think about them. Hopefully it'll give us a couple of crust ideas that we can also make our own fillings for as well. All right, so let's get started on that first recipe. Again, this is Keto Pop Tarts by the website lowcarbspark.com. I'll leave the link here on the screen at the bottom and in the video description below. Now, first of all, we're going to start with our dry ingredients, and this contains both almond flour and coconut flour. And I am going to sift y'all, because as you know, I keep almond flour and nut flours in the freezer. They just stay fresher longer, and that can cause them to create, as you can see, little balls that you want to get out of your flour before you start your recipe. Also to this, we're going to add a little bit of coconut flour. So this is a combination of the two flours. If you want to know exact ingredients, like I said, just go to the website. It'll be in the video description below. As we're sifting this out, we're going to continue to add some of our dry ingredients. To this is 1/3 cup of a powdered erythritol-based sweetener. You can use Swerve, that's what I'm using here. It just needs to be erythritol-based, preferably not allulose-based, I don't think, for this, because that tends to brown a little bit too quickly and we may get some burning, so I'm using Swerve. To this, we're also going to add, I'm making a mess over here, but we're going to add in a little bit of pinch of a salt, which you see over here, and then this is xanthan gum. You want to make sure this gets really evenly distributed. The xanthan gum acts as a gluten sort of replacement, an alternative to gluten, so that you've got something hopefully to help hold the dough together, because without the gluten in wheat flour, keto baked goods can become a little bit difficult to keep together. All right, so I'm just going to sift this out. As you can see, this is why you sift, y'all. Look at all those lumps and bumps. They'll just be floating around in your recipe. Okay, so we've got our dry ingredients now, and we're just going to transfer them into, hopefully, with none spilling out. Transfer them into a food processor with the blade attachment. And we're going to pulse this a few times just to make sure that it's well incorporated. We've got that ready, so we're going to add our liquid ingredients now, and that is going to be 1 egg at room temperature. This just goes right in. Crack that in another bowl first in case you get some shells or just a bad egg. To this, we're going to add a little bit of melted butter. This is unsalted butter, which is why we added a little bit of salt in with the dry ingredients. And then lastly is softened cream cheese. This is room temperature cream cheese. I'm going to sort of break it in half here to give it a better chance of getting completely incorporated into this. And then we're also going to add in some vanilla extract. Get out of the way. And this is a teaspoon of vanilla extract, goes right in with the liquid ingredients. And now we're just going to pulse this a few times, keep pulsing it until a sticky dough forms, and then it should be fairly sticky. We're going to take the dough out, make a ball, wrap it in some plastic wrap, and put that in the fridge while we work on our filling. So I'm going to do all of that now and meet you right back here in just a bit. Okay, so our dough, our pastry dough, is chilling in the freezer, not the refrigerator, the freezer for 10 to 15 minutes. And while that's chilling, we're going to actually work on our filling now. And this is a nonstick skillet over medium heat. And we've got a cup of frozen raspberries. And we're just going to cook this down with a little bit of sweetener. This is our powdered sweetener that we used in the same pastry dough. We're going to cook this down for about 5 minutes, maybe a little longer, until this sort of gets into a thick jelly-like consistency. I'll speed this up so you don't have to watch it as this works. And then after this gets fairly thick, after about 5 minutes, we're going to take it off the heat and fold in a little bit of xanthan gum. That'll just gel this up a little bit more so that our filling sort of stays together like a Pop Tart. All right, so I'm going to speed this up, and I'll meet you right back here when all this is done. So it's been 5 minutes and our raspberries look nice and juicy. And here we're just going to add in, sprinkle over our little bit of xanthan gum. Don't pour it all in one spot because it's kind of hard to mix if you do that. I think her instructions even said to fold it in. I don't know how you fold it in, but...
You just fold it in. Okay.
So we're just going to mix this in well. This hopefully will make this thick enough so that it doesn't seep through the pastry as it bakes. Also, she also gives in, I say she, I don't know if this is a she. You could also use a chia seed jam. There are lots of keto, not lots, but several keto fruit jam manufacturers now that have chia seed jam. So we're just going to set this to the side now and let this cool. I'll get cleaned up here, and we're going to roll out our dough and assemble our Pop Tarts and bake them off. You should be preheating your oven to 350 degrees if you haven't already. Meet you right back here. All right, so we're back, and our dough is out of the freezer. It was in there about 12 minutes, I would say. And this is where we're going to roll these out. I'm going to cut this in half. And you're either going to make 4 large ones or 8 small ones of these. This goes back in the freezer while you're waiting. You're either going to make 8 small ones or 4 large ones, and I'm going to see how many I'm going to get out based on how the rolling out goes. So put this between 2 pieces of parchment paper. Start with a nice flat surface, and then I'm going to roll these out and try to speed this up. And I'm going to cut out at least 4 of these, if not 8, and we'll see how far along we get. So I'll be right back. Okay, so out of that half of a ball, I got what will be 2 Pop Tarts, 4 rectangles. There was a little bit of leftover dough, which will go into our second ball. So we're going to make 4 of these. I want to start with just the 2 just to see how this goes. So I've divided these evenly. One of these will be the top and one will be the bottom. And to each of these, we add a tablespoon of the filling onto 2 of these. And then we're going to spread this out, and you want to leave some room around the edges so that you can crimp them with a fork so you get the nice edge and so they seal. And then just spread this out a little bit. From here, I'm gonna maybe I can just flip these over. Well, no, I'm gonna make a mess if I do that. Try to pull up your piece of dough without ripping it, which is hard to do, which I just did. Lay it on top. Gently sealing around the edges. We're going to come around with a fork though and do that again. This is why it's important also to get the dough evenly. That one was a little thin around the edges, and I probably should have done a little better job of that. Let me separate these two. Oh, I'm making a mess already, Wesley. I want to separate these two so that they don't bake together. Okay, so from here, crimp the edges. As you can see, a pastry chef I am not. This is hard to do without it taking the dough up. I want to spray a little bit of avocado oil spray on the bottom of my fork. So hopefully we won't get, oh shoot, does not like that, folks. Nope, the dough is just too delicate for that. Maybe I'm being a little rambunctious. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to forego that whole thing. I'm going to crimp with my fingers. These are going to go in the freezer for about 10 minutes to make sure that they are well sealed. And maybe after that 10 minutes in the freezer, I can get a little better crimping done with the fork after it's cooled a bit, because it does not like that, or it doesn't like my fork, whatever's happening. These little Pop Tarts weren't happy about it. Okay, so we'll let these freeze for 10 minutes. I'll meet you right back here in just a bit. Okay, after chilling for 5 minutes, I was able to get a little bit better crimp around the edges of our Pop Tarts, and we're going to add in a little egg wash. So with just a whole egg, I'm going to beat this a little bit. This gives it a sort of flaky brown, golden brown crust. So I've already rolled out the other two, so we can get a total of 4 of these. And just a gentle egg wash here, and then we're going to slice an X in the top of each of these to let the steam escape. And then I'm going to bake these off at 350 in a preheated 350-degree oven for about 15 minutes or until golden brown. And then we'll come back here, make our icing, put the icing on top, and then once those cool and the icing sets, we're ready to taste these. And while they're cooling, of course, we'll work on our second recipe. So I'm going to finish this up, and I'll meet you back here in just a bit. Before we begin, I'd like to thank the sponsor of this video, Trade. Trade helps you make better coffee at home. Trade sources the best coffees across the country and brings them right to your doorstep. They've built relationships with over 55 local craft roasters so you can enjoy their expertise right from the comfort of your home. Now, you'll visit their website and take a quiz about your preferences, and they will map those preferences to hundreds of different coffee flavor profiles. Their technology pairs you with the best coffees using art and science. One of the most important parts of this equation is that Trade roasts your coffee to order and delivers it exactly when you need it, usually within 48 hours of roasting, so you are sure to receive the freshest roast possible. And that fresh roast, whether you're getting it ground or whole bean, really means a tremendous amount of the flavor. Everything I've tried from them has been amazing because I told them in the quiz what I like in a coffee, and that's what they're shipping me. Now, there are multiple ways to experience Trade. You can get one of their subscription plans like I have, or you can try one of their starter packs just to see if this is going to work out for you. So right now, Trade has a fantastic deal for you guys. Simply visit their website at drinktrade.com/highfalutin, and you can enjoy 30% off of your first month of coffee. You know, I say it all the time, sponsorships aren't why I do this, they're how I do this. And sponsorships like Trade keep channels like mine on the air, and for that I am truly appreciative. So thank you, Trade, for sponsoring this video. Again, just visit their website at drinktrade.com/highfalutin, and you can enjoy 30% off of your first month of coffee. All right, let's get started on this. Come on. All right, so let's get started on this second recipe. This is the one that's chocolate filled. And this is again by InspectorGorgeous.com. And it's peanut butter cup Pop Tarts, gluten-free and keto. So our others are on the back here just cooling. I've iced them, and we're going to add a few little keto sprinkles. Something just to make the top look really cool. But now we need to take care of the dough for this second recipe. So I'm going to, again, use the food processor. You said you can cut in the cold butter like you would a pastry dough. I'm going to use the food processor for that. So we're going to, again, start with almond flour and coconut flour. If you want to know exact amounts of each, you know exactly where to go to inspectorgorgeous.com. It'll be in the pinned comment below. So we're going to sift this out, and while we do that, we're also going to add in a little bit of xanthan gum. Again, this acts as our gluten replacement, and sifting it into the flour helps it make sure that it's incorporated. And lastly, it said 4 or 5 tablespoons of our powdered erythritol-based sweetener. I've used Swerve, and I went with 4 tablespoons because this has a lot of sweet filling with the chocolate, and then some Lily's peanut butter cups that we're going to cut up and place in there as well. So here are our dry ingredients, and into the food processor they're going to go. And we just need to cut in 5 tablespoons of butter, cold butter. I've cut it into 4 pieces, but that is 5 tablespoons actually. And I'm just going to pulse this until it becomes, like it said, sandy, which I find is a funny description because sandy is how a lot of people describe almond flour based products anyway. So, but here we go. Okay, that looks really good. As you can see, it's sort of got a sandy texture. The butter has been evenly cut into that. And now we've got an egg. Just going to break it apart a little bit and beat that. And I'm going to reserve a tablespoon of it for the, what do you call that? The egg wash on top. It's hard to get a tablespoon out of there. Okay, we're going to reserve that. The rest of this is going in our dough. So I'm going to put that back in there. This is going to go to the side, and we're going to use that as our egg wash. Again, that's the instructions from the recipe developer. So now we're going to incorporate this until we get a sticky ball. Okay, and just like our other recipe, this also needs to chill in the fridge. This looks like a stickier dough than our other recipe did by far. If it's too wet and sticky, you can add some coconut flour to this. But this, if you're only making the one while this is chilling, let your oven heat up to 350. So I'm going to put this in the fridge, get cleaned up, and we'll get started on our filling and roll this out. All right, so now we're going to make the filling for our Keto Pop Tarts by Inspector Gorgeous. And this is going to be peanut butter based, peanut butter cup based. She calls for 3 of the Lily's milk chocolate style peanut butter cups, 3 of those that have been chopped. So that's what we've got over here, and a little bit of natural unsweetened peanut butter. And then we've got a little bit of melted butter. To this, we're going to add just a tiny, like 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla. I'm going to add it into the butter here so we can make sure it's incorporated in there. And I imagine it may be hard to get this peanut butter and everything mixed together. So to our peanut butter, we're going to add in a little bit of the powdered sugar, powdered sweetener that we used in the other recipe, rest of the recipe, the Swerve. This is our melted butter. Hopefully this is warm enough to get everything to play along with the mixing here, because I don't want to make a mess, and I'm probably about to. So just try to get this mixed as smoothly as possible, and then we're going to stir in these peanut butter cups as well. Oh gosh, that looks good, doesn't it? Before we get too much further, let's go ahead and put in our beautiful little peanut butter cups, and all this is going to be our filling. And then we've got a little Lily's milk chocolate bar we're going to melt, and that's going to be our topping. Instead of a glaze like in our fruit-based one, we're going to make a chocolate glaze for the top of these. And wow, that looks amazing. Amazing. So we're going to set this aside, and we're going to get to rolling out our dough. It should be ready in about 5 minutes. And I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'll speed it up so you don't have to watch. This recipe calls to make 4 or 5 small ones, not 4 versus 8. So she said you can roll it really thin and get 5, but usually she's able to get 4 out of there. So I'm going to do it just like we did the first time. Try to roll out half to get 2. Fill them, and then do the other 2. So I'll meet you back here, and then we'll go from there with the toppings, and then we'll taste all of these, and we'll talk about the nutrition, and we're almost there. Stay tuned. All right, guys, so we are back, and looky what we have here. These came out better than I was anticipating. This is our first recipe. Look at that. I used some, the recipe didn't call for it, but I used some keto sprinkles on the top just to give it some color. There are several companies that make them now. Goodies, Good D's has some. I think Chalk Zero has some. Anyway, they're easy to find and they make this look great. The second one, I went ahead and melted 3 ounces of Lily's milk chocolate on top and then put a few more of the Lily's peanut butter cup bars on there. Those look great. All right, so let's talk about nutrition before we taste these. Obviously, the first recipe here said that it made 8 of these, or you can make 4 large ones. So one serving that I'm going to give you the information for is half of one of these. So one of these is 2. So our first recipe was by Low Carb Spark. This is the Keto Pop Tarts. If you make 8 of them, again, this is 4, half of this would be this, but if you make 8, one serving is 248 calories. You've got 21 grams of fat, 8 grams of protein, 11 total carbohydrates. You got 6 grams of fiber, so that makes this 5 net carbs for one of these, half of one of those. And then on our second recipe, this is the peanut butter cup Pop Tarts by InspectorGorgeous.com. If you make 4, she said you can make 5 if you roll them a little thinner, so that would change the macros. But if you make 4, one of these is 262 calories. You got 24 grams of fat, 7 grams of protein, 12 grams of carbs. You got 6 grams of fiber, so that's 6 net carbs. So 5 net carbs, 6 net carbs. So the important thing here is, what do they taste like? So in all fairness, I'm going to go ahead and cut this one in half so that you can see this would be the one serving that's the 240 whatever calories would look like that. How does this... Oh, that's pretty. Hide my face. Do you see? Hide my face. Looks pretty Pop-Tart-ish. The bottom crust looks good. Look at that. Tearing apart like a Pop-Tart. Okay, what do we think? Mm-hmm. Mmm. Oh, wow. The raspberry is super bright and wonderful. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Hold on. Okay. Super good. Obviously, comparing it to a real Pop-Tart, it's not as flaky because you don't have the, the same pastry base with the wheat flour, but it's a pretty good replication of it. And this works with any kind of berry. I think if I were doing this again, I'd probably do blueberry or strawberry. It would change the flavor a little bit, but it also cut down on the seeds. The raspberry, you definitely know that there are seeds in there. You could run that final gel through a sieve to get out those, but that's a lot of work. A blueberry would cut down a lot of that and still give you that sweetness, but this is really good. Really good. Icing is super sweet. Be careful with it. Okay. So let's try our chocolate one. This is a chocolate peanut butter cup, and I'm going to tell you that when I was mixing those, I shouldn't have put the peanut butter cups in the peanut butter mix. They would have been sprinkled on top before you laid the dough down, but it all kind of worked out the same way. You could have reserved some of those to add the extra chocolate peanut butter cups on top. This is a harder dough for me to work with. Oh my gosh. It's not quite set up. The chocolate isn't quite set. They've been in the fridge, but overnight this will firm up quite a bit. That doesn't have enough of the filling. Let's go for this side. What do we think about that? The bottom looks good, held up well, baked off well. Mm. Oh my God. So buttery. Mm. Okay. As you suspect, that's fantastic. Really, really good. I prefer the fruit over the chocolate. The chocolate is just, whoa, there's a lot going on. But more importantly, of the two crusts, the first crust was easier to work with and it has a more Pop-Tart-like lighter texture. This second recipe had 5 tablespoons of butter. The first recipe had 3 tablespoons of butter and made twice as many. This is almost double the amount of flour that this made. So you've got twice as much flour to butter ratio. You did use cream cheese in this, just a few ounces, but that made for a firmer dough that isn't quite as fat laden. As you can see here, this is even the glossy sheen from the baking versus this one. So both, all in all, fantastic. If I were doing this again, I would stick with the crust from the first recipe and then use the chocolate or the fruit filling or some other fruit or whatever you like. But Low Carb Spark has got the dough down. I mean, look, that's hard to deny that those aren't beautiful. So whew. So there you have it, folks. Low carb Pop Tarts. Yes, it's possible. And these are fantastic. Not quite as good as the one that I've force fed myself. Well, not really force fed, but the ones that I've enjoyed over the last week of life cycle. But these are pretty darn good. And again, stick with the first dough recipe. I'm going to ask you to please like this video, give it a thumbs up. It's the most important thing you can do. Let others know that this is a video that you liked. And I say this every time, these videos are a way for me to maintain my low carb way of eating, and looking in the end of that camera as often as I can helps keep me honest. So I appreciate that you guys have come along for the journey. Be sure to check me out over on social media, other social media like Facebook and Instagram. It's just Highfalutin Low Carb over there. Talk a little more frequently, a little more freely. You can see some of the videos and photos from the ride and everything that entailed. I also need to again thank the sponsor of this video, Trade Coffee. So guys, if you want to support me, go to drinktrade.com/highfalutin and you'll enjoy 30% off your first month of coffee. So thank you for that. And lastly, my rock stars. Their names are probably already scrolling over here. If you don't, there's my Patreon members. Patreon, think of it like the tip jar for the internet. It lets people like you who enjoy what people like me do here on YouTube. You can give $1 or $2 a month just to keep the train on the track. So without them, none of this would be possible. They truly are my rock stars. So, all right, guys, I love you very much. I'll see you in the next video, which is coming very soon. And remember, today is a great day. So have a great day. Bye-bye.